This week on the Roth Guy, Jude, let's talk a little bit about protection. And, you could take that in a number of ways, I suppose, but keep your mind out of the gutter. We're going to talk about protecting the things you love and have a conversation around that. Because, look, we talked a little bit last week about, the GPS system and your guys' how you guys build things for clients or prospective clients. And, look, a couple of these things are not the sexiest parts of it, but risk is vastly different as we age. We all know this as we're starting to get older, and people that probably check out this podcast are getting older. And you don't do some of the risky things you did when you were younger. And certainly when it comes to our money, we start getting a little less risky. And it's tough out there right now because the market goes on these tears and we got all these crazy things going on. And you want a piece of that, but at the same time, you got to protect it. So let's talk about risk and protection this week, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. It's been a great week so far.
Good. So let's, jump right into maybe not the sexiest piece of this conversation. We'll get that out of the way first. But life insurance, right? I mean, protection or insurance in general, insurance products, wherever you want to go. But it's an important piece of things. And it's also one that's confusing to seniors or retirees or pre-retirees because it's like, well, do I even need this crap anymore, right?
Yeah, and you opened the door so perfectly because in our last episode, we were talking about GPS, guidance, planning, and solutions, which is our proprietary process. And with GPS, there's 5 pillars. There's investment planning, income planning, tax planning, legacy planning, and risk management. And today, when we talk about insurance, it could really fall under both the legacy planning and the risk management. So let's talk about life insurance just as it relates to the legacy planning.
Sure.
You want to make sure when we're talking to clients, what are the risks that you do see and what are the risks that you don't see? Oftentimes, early on in a couple's life cycle, they're thinking about what happens if the breadwinner passes away, what happens to the other spouse, what happens to the kids. And so you need to make sure that there's going to be a lump sum of money to be able to help that person live the lifestyle that they're accustomed to. But then later on in life, it's less about, because your net worth has grown, maybe your debts are less, maybe the kids are out of the house. At that point, life insurance is more about, okay, how do I leave a legacy behind and make sure that my spouse is still able to live that lifestyle? But it's usually more focused around legacy planning and creating multi-generational wealth. And so insurance can be used it's like a Swiss Army knife. It could be used in multiple directions, but you just have to make sure it's aligned with the client's goals and what they're trying to achieve. Yeah,
it's kind of like, back in the day, we used to have those anybody who's old enough remember it's not your daddy's Oldsmobile commercials, right? And life insurance, going way back. But life insurance, used to kind of be very kind of rigid, and it's to your point, it's kind of a Swiss Army knife now for a lot of different things. And it could be a tool that is really beneficial depending on the situation, depending on what the person's trying to accomplish. And with that, and not just life insurance though, Jude, but if we're talking about protection in general, a really simple low-hanging fruit that people often kind of don't pay attention to the way they should is the BDs, the beneficiary designations. And this is not just your life insurance policies, right? This could be on your 401ks or any accounts, really, making sure that stuff is up to date. A super simple fix, man, is just to make sure you got the right people on there, because over time, people are going to come in and out of your life.
100%. And we see some real simple fixes sometimes when a prospective client comes in and we're looking in general what's going on in their life. For instance, TOD, transfer on death. It's a very simple designation that could be put on your checking accounts and savings accounts. So if you pass away, that asset can be transferred directly to your beneficiaries. Normally, checking accounts and savings accounts don't have a separate designated area for beneficiaries, but simply asking your banker, can we add TOD on, does that for you. When you have your IRAs or your 401ks, there's a specific area to add beneficiaries on. But in the checking and saving account, they don't. So there could be some simple tweaks that most people are just unaware of.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you've got a new grandchild that you want to add that you never did, or maybe you got a son-in-law you want to remove or whatever, right? So you want to make sure that stuff's up to date. And people often get, we get kind of misguided in saying, well, I put a will together and that'll handle everything. And no, it doesn't. It's nice to have the document, but look, I mean, there's a million cases out there and none of them ever work. The BD, is what it is. If you've got the wrong person listed, it does not matter what your will says, right?
100%. And unfortunately, we've seen cases like that where someone has gotten a divorce and they forgot to change the beneficiary on their 401k or IRA. Doesn't matter what your will say, it's going to go to your former spouse, your ex-spouse. So as part of our process with GPS, we're meeting with clients on either a semi-annual or annual basis. And one of the topics that we look at is there a need to update your beneficiaries? So it's really, really important.
Yeah, for sure, right? I mean, marriages, divorces, births, deaths, lots of different reasons to maybe update that. And will's not the whole picture, either, Jude, right? So there's some other simple protections that we should do. If we're all one blood test away from maybe being uninsurable or maybe having some sort of an event happen. So do you have the other pieces like a power of attorney or medical directives?
100%. So when we look at GPS, and one of the pillars is legacy planning, we're going to look really deep into your estate plan and how that is put together, and does it reflect your real wants and desires. Some of the easiest things that we see, or common mistakes that we see, is one, that the estate is funded.
Good point.
When you do a typical estate plan, you're changing the titles of some of your accounts. And if your accounts have not been changed to the same title that is in the estate documents, then it's like the estate document didn't even exist. And oftentimes we see people who were proactive and got their estate documents done, but they never changed the titling. They never funded the trust. And so,
I was gonna say that happens often with trust, right? Yeah.
Simple things like that are tweaks that you thought you did the right thing, but you didn't take the ball into the end zone. And we're here to help you do that.
Yeah, I mean, and trusts are a conversation that a lot of people wind up realizing, or didn't realize, I guess, that, hey, this might be a good tool for me, because there's always been this kind of stigma that it's for the ultra wealthy or whatever. But I mean, in a litigious society, Jude, that we are in and have been in for a long time, a trust could be a great, valuable asset to your overall strategy. If you've got just a decent sized estate, a trust might be on the docket for you. It might be worthwhile to have that chat.
100%. Here's one other real common mistake that I see. People often move. I live in Florida. We have a ton of people moving to Florida all the time.
Sure.
They may have a property in a previous state and a property in Florida, and the property in the other state is just in their name. So now if they pass away, you have to do probate in two different states. Can you imagine? Already probate is stressful enough, and now I've got to do that in the state that I originated from and the state that I live in. Oh no.
You know what? And it's not stressful for you because you're gone, but it's stressful for your family, right? So, and that's the other thing about a family too. It's not good enough, Jude, just to have these documents. Does your family know? I can't talk today. Does your family know where this stuff is?
It's one of the things we talk about in our GPS meetings, is that we want to have a relationship with your beneficiaries so they know who to turn to. And the process that we create what's called an asset map. And we suggest that the clients have that with their estate documents. Is I had to help my family when my dad passed away settle the estate. And even though my dad was an organized man, there were statements in almost every drawer that I had to go through. And so having an organized process that know that whoever is the executor of your estate can follow very simply, that's an important part of relieving the stress of your loved one passing away.
And then you also is like, well, you know what? This is too much for me. I'm calling Jude and the team there and saying, help me out with this,
100%.
right? Because, and I think that's what a lot of people would like to have is they just want that support. We talk often about the behavioral management side of financial professionals. It's really helping us with, just managing our behaviors, right? Whether it's not too high, not too low, not too stressed, not too whatever, so that we can kind of get through these, tough pieces of life. And I want to circle back for a minute. We'll kind of maybe finish up with risk a little bit because, as far as the GPS goes, risk right now is at an all-time high, I feel like, for a lot of folks, because even if everything in our world right now is just, so crazy and chaotic on a regular basis, doesn't matter what walk of life it's in. And when it comes back to our money, man, it just stresses us out, Jude. Risk is just like, do I peel some off the table? But I also want to keep up because things are, the markets are doing well or whatever the case is. How do you help people with that risk management, whatever it might be?
Yeah. So when we're looking at risk, it's part of one of the 5 pillars, risk management in and of itself. And it's one of the areas that I find that most financial professionals don't spend a lot of time in. We kind of glaze over, well, do you have life insurance? Do you have disability insurance? But It's more than just that. It's like we talked about before, titling of your accounts. You want to be in a position where you control everything, but on paper, you may not look like you own anything. Like you said before, we live in a very litigious society. And so protecting the assets that you worked so hard to build is a crucial part of the overall plan.
And it's not just that kind of risk too, right, Jude? There's taxation risk. Yeah. There's the income risk. There's investment risk, right? So there's longevity risk. Like the longer we're around, the more risk we're subject to, right? So all these pieces, have to be brought under that umbrella.
And that's why I love the 5 pillars that we've built, because we could do a whole show just on risk management in every area that you mentioned, from taxation to liability. We'll do that. Yeah, that's a great idea. But this is I think this is one of the things that makes us different, because when clients walk away with the GPS plan, they feel like they have clarity and confidence in their life because they know we've touched all of the areas that they were concerned about and areas that we brought to their attention, that now they're in the mindset, oh, I need to make sure that we've checked that box.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, right, we all want to do the right things and protect our loved ones, but often we just make the simple little mistakes and not do it. Not that we meant to, we just didn't do it, right? So that's where, having a team, having some help, having someone guide you through that can be really important. So reach out to Jude and the team. We'll have links in the show descriptions below. You guys can get started with your own GPS system for your particular, personal strategies in life. Everybody's different. What Jude needs is different than what I need, and so on and so forth. So reach out to the team, have a conversation, get started today. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, of course, right here on YouTube, and just click on that thumbs up button and all that good stuff. But click the link, go talk with Jude and his team, have a conversation, and see if they're the right fit for you. It's complimentary, no cost or obligation, so there's really no reason not to reach out to them. So, Jude, my friend, thanks for hanging out, buddy. Have yourself a great week, and I will talk to you soon.
Always enjoy it, my friend. Thank you.
We'll catch you next time here on The Roth Guy with Jude Wilson from Centrus Financial Strategies.
Investment advisory services are offered through Centrus Financial Strategies, CFS, a registered investment advisor. CFS does not provide tax or legal advice. Consult with a qualified financial, legal, or tax professional prior to taking any action. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Centrus Financial Strategies does not accept any liability for the use of the information discussed. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. Before investing, consider investment objectives, risk, fees, and expenses. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss, including loss of principal. Past performance is no guarantee of future returns. The views and opinions reflected in the content are subject to change at any time without notice. The content speaks only as of the date indicated. Some information was obtained from external sources. The information is believed to be accurate, but there is no guarantee that it is. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money. For information pertaining to the registration status of CFS, please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. For additional information about CFS, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from CFS using the contact information herein.